The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And welcome to another edition of the Saturday Brunch on No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports. We are proudly presented by the Belly Up Media Network. My name is Ryan McCarthy. I'm one of the co-hosts. To my right is a man who is not high on drugs. He's not high on coffee. He is high on his Edmonton Oilers this morning. Dustin Henry. Dustin. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. I have to say, I do have Invader coffee in my cup, though. Still nursing the last of that bad Santa blend. It's getting a little low. It's getting a little low now. Yes, I cannot believe I was so negative. And I will confess. It was I was watching Game 3 at my friend Kenny's house, and they came back to make it interesting in the final minutes, but they had been dominated for most of the game. And Kenny said, "Oh, if they extend it, we'll have to watch the next game." And I said, "They're not extending this." I said they'll get one victory, which then they did. They got the 8-2 victory. And I said, they're not extending this. And then I was so confident that I made plans for yesterday. So when he texted me, he was like, Are you able to watch the game? I'm like, I can't. I made plans for Friday because I was so confident that they were gonna, and I was down from my Mavs. Even though it was a great season, they just got summarily dismantled by the Celtics. And I felt that my Oilers were doing the same thing. But what a time. What a time. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I got family in town. After this one, we're gonna celebrate my niece graduating from high school. She doesn't officially graduate until Tuesday, but we decided to have the party today. Hopefully the weather holds out. We don't get dumped on rain for too much rain. But my family got family in town. My brother Jeremy and his wife and his son are in town. We got to hang out with them last night. So I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited for your Oilers. Not so excited for the Yankees having a slump, but
yeah,
there's another New York team that's having some success right now. We're going to talk about that and more in just a brief moment. But before that, we just want to remind you about our social media channels right down here below. It's on Twitter, Instagram, and the scarcely used TikTok. It's at NoCredsREQ, Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, YouTube.com/@NoCredsREQ. And if you wouldn't mind, please giving us a like, comment, share, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms down here below. On the YouTube page exclusively, and I forgot to mention this to Dustin before the bump. I'm gonna actually play a little clip. I'm gonna play a clip from my interview with Esa Tikkanen that I had this week. Great guest. He's selling some of his personal wares for just because he just has no use for him anymore. But he'll explain. But he'll explain why. But before we do that, I just want to also remind you on the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast wherever you podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, wherever you find podcasts. Rate and review. A 5-star rating would be awesome. And also, if you're on a platform where you can review, we'll even read your review on the air. And because it's a live show this morning, we want you to engage with the show. We want your comments. And then, Dustin, I know this sound, other than the Oilers horn sound, this sound usually gets you pretty hype.
Yes, it does.
All right. All right. So before we get to This Week in Sportsball, I'm going to play about a 1 minute clip and change of my interview with Esa Tikkanen, talking about why he's selling personal items on classicauctions.net. I want to thank Mark from classicauctions.net, who set up the interview. Will give Esa Tikkanen the opportunity to talk about why he's selling his items, such personal items. And here's a clip from that interview. Such personal items.
Well, first of all, and there's people, selling those things already. And, in 30 years, over 30 years in with Oilers rings and the Rangers ring, they're not fitting my fingers anymore. And, they've been in my back and I never used them anymore because they're not fitting my room. And I was thinking about why not can't, check what I can do it. And somebody in the memory, Stanley Cup, and the jackets and the everywhere jerseys, because those been in the closet and they take dust only. And now I can buy something for my wife, something good. But anyway, it's memory, those rings, in Europe, you never wearing those rings, but in the United States and Canada, they wearing all the time the rings, and somebody have a chance to, buy them. And, Mark asking me a couple months ago, and if I'm interested in doing that. So I talk to my wife and say, why not? Well, there is lots more people who selling the rings, so why not you do it? Because you're not using them.
Yeah, and I know it's that's the thing. The English is not so great, but he explained. I'll give a kind of a breakdown. He explains why. He just says, you know what, this stuff is just kind of collecting dust in my house. It's just collecting dust in my closet. I have these 5 rings. We don't show the bling in Europe like they do in the United States and in Canada. So he says, you know what, I might as well sell it. Might as well sell these items. Might as well buy something nice for my wife.
Yeah, that was his good motivation. Because I will say, I saw part of the interview. I started watching it, and then I got called away to go help with the company event, which is the reason we had to reschedule last week's show to Wednesday. And I didn't get back to it. But I was in the parts where you were asking him questions about, the team's mindset during the run and things like that. And he mentioned a name that stuck out to me because I hadn't thought about it in a long time. Eddie Olczyk. I forgot he was on that team. And of former announcer and head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins fame. I remember when Eddie Olczyk was the coach. But I got to get back and watch the rest of that interview. You did a fantastic job. From the parts that I saw.
Thank you.
Everybody go to our YouTube channel and check it out. It is exclusive to there. But I love his pure motivations. I can get something nice for my wife. That's a great thing.
It's never a bad thing to get something nice for your wife. Men, this 2 single men give you marriage advice. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. We gotta keep things moving here. So let's talk about this week in sports ball. All right. Well, I pour the rest of my Invader coffee. Ding in my.
What blend do you have today, sir?
Oh, I have the OG blend today.
Oh, nice. That's a good. That's a strong blend. A good one.
It's a strong dark blend. It's gonna fulfill me for this recording. But first item in this week in sports ball: the Stanley Cup Final. Dustin's Oilers. They make history. Well, they haven't completed history yet.
Yeah,
but they make history to become the first NHL team since 1942 to force a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup Final after going down 3-0 in the series. And Dustin, I know you mentioned it in the opening segment, but I want to get your complete thoughts. How you feeling?
Well, I'm on cloud 9, and I don't want to say that
cloud 9-7.
Whoa, yo, there we go. I can't. I can't say that this makes up, because if they do not win Game 7, I will be disappointed, as I think any natural fan of their team naturally would be disappointed. But at least I'm so proud that they at least fought back, because a lot of teams, you're down 3-0, you're probably discouraged, you're frustrated, and I would say it's human nature. Sometimes when you just feel that something is insurmountable, sometimes you say, it's not going to happen. That's a tough mindset to overcome, especially when millions of people are watching, and the way that they responded. And I thought, I'll confess here, because I tend to look at the negative side of things a lot of times. Like I said in the open, I was so discouraged after they went down 3-0 that I said to Kenny, I'm like, they're not extending this. Like, we don't have to make plans for the next game because it's not going to happen. Right. I did predict they would get the one victory, kind of like the Mavs did. The Mavs got that one victory, and then the Celtics just put them down. So maybe it was partially the holdover from that series, but I was very discouraged because all I wanted was a good series. I want the Oilers to win, but I wanted them to show themselves, well, and it just wasn't happening. And now when Coach Chris Knobloch, aka Nobby, came out and he said after they won that one game, he said, "There's no better group of guys I'd rather do this with." Mm-hmm. And I said, "That's coach speak, man. Like that you're just saying what you want to say." And then when Connor came out and he said, "We're going to drag them back to Alberta," well, they proved the doubters wrong, because they've done that now. And now I would say the momentum, dare I say, has shifted to the Oilers in the series. I mean, last night I saw some of the pregame coverage, and I think it was PK Subban who was saying that the pressure, he would say it's about equal, because he said the Panthers have pressure on them because they want to win this game. But he said the Oilers have pressure on them because if they lose on home ice after storming back, into this series, it's not going to be good.
No.
Well, they won on home ice, and I'd say the pressure is on the Panthers now. The Oilers are playing with a new sense of they're playing looser, and it seems like they're having fun out there again. Where I think in the beginning of this series they were pressing and they were afraid. And there were some quotes from Skinner that really credited Connor McDavid and I believe Leon Draisaitl, where he said, "No matter if I give up 5 goals or if I let in 1, they still have faith in me. They have the same. They're always pumping me up. They're always giving me I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, they look at me the same no matter what happens." And he said, "It's nice to know that your stars are standing behind you like that." So I feel like the team is coming together. Game 7, anything can happen. All I wanted was a game 7, and we got it. So I'm thrilled.
It's interesting you mentioned Draisaitl, because he mentioned in an interview with ESPN that he says, "I'm not happy with my play right now."
Yeah,
but he was the one who added the first. He was the one who added, I think, the secondary assist on the first goal of the game. So he's picking things up. Zach Hyman is.
Yes.
If there's one guy who's not named Connor McDavid who should win the Conn Smythe Trophy for the playoff MVP, it's Zach Hyman, because he leads the NHL in playoff goals this year.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the leading goal scorer. He had a goal last night on a beautiful breakaway, goal to put the Oilers up 3, and then we saw the Panthers score a goal, but then it got reviewed.
Yes,
back for offside. That could have switched the momentum, because they scored a little. They did wind up scoring a little bit later, but then Paul Maurice, with just a chunk of time left, decided to pull his goalie, and Oilers got 2 empty net goals, and again, the Oilers dragged them back to Alberta, and now they're back to Florida, and we're gonna see on Tuesday night. It's game 7 is Tuesday night.
I think it's Tuesday night. Yeah.
Let's real-time research and find out.
I know. I have to, because now I'm like, is it Monday? But I don't think so. Because I think the flight between Florida and Edmonton is so long that
it's the longest distance between 2 teams in Stanley Cup history. So not Sunday. Monday night is game.
Oh, it's Monday night.
It's game 7, or as our friend Cole Johnson. I should have gotten this. I should have gotten this from him. He does a beautiful graphic of him saying game 7. And it's an echo of 7.
Well, if you send that, what we can do is you can clip out that audio that you did now, and I can sweeten it up using some of my audio equipment. I'll put a slapback delay on that thing. We'll have it going.
We'll work on that. We'll do that. Well, I'm gonna have to find some. Let's see. A Monday night. I'm actually recording with our friend of the show, Gaz. We're recording.
Awesome.
We're recording a session on Monday night. It's gonna be, yeah. I guess I'll reveal this. We're gonna record a session on Monday. That's gonna air on Levac and Gaz the week of July 1st.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
you're returning to the radio waves, my friend.
My radio debut-ish sometime the week of July 1st. So he's the one who pushed me with the idea. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So hopefully I'll get it in the books. I can listen live after after our recording is over. But it's, yeah, I mean, this is, I've only seen, it's only been like two. This is only the third time I've seen this in my own personal history. I'm not going to mention that 2004, what happened in 2004.
Yeah.
We know
were
what
all
happened
around there for that.
We were all there for that.
Thanks, Dave Roberts. No.
Yeah, thanks, Dave Roberts. Jerk. He's one guy I would not like to have a beer with.
Yeah. Oh, tease.
Yeah, tease. I think it was either 2011 or 2013. The Flyers came back from 3-0 down to beat the Bruins in the Eastern semifinal. And this is the third time I've seen this happen. This is historical. And it happened in a championship setting. It happened in a championship setting where a title is on the line. So I'm excited for you because I know you're an Oilers fan. You haven't. I know you really didn't get into hockey. You didn't really get into hockey until what, college?
A little bit before college
that?
is when I really started following it. Because I'll shout him out again. It seems like whenever I shout him out, he appears in the chat. So
say
we'll see
his
if it happens.
name and he appears.
But old
P. Schmitty.
Old P. Schmitty, he got me into fantasy hockey, and the thing was too, he had center ice in high school. So that's when I really started watching it. I mean, it was a lot of Pens games because he was a Penguins fan.
I'm so sorry.
But it also, he would say, hey, the Oilers are on it, whatever, because he knew I was an Oilers fan. But, it was tacit. I basically was an Oilers fan because I thought their uniforms looked cool. And in Blades of Steel, I always played as Edmonton, which their colors, because I like their colors, but the colors weren't even accurate because Blades of Steel did not have NHL rights, although the New York team was red and blue. I don't know how they got away with that one.
Blades of Steel.
Swing with the fights. Remember the fights,
yes,
Ryan? That was good.
I always lost those fights, but
yeah. Oh, you just had to mash.
And what's funny is that you just kept playing after the fight. You just kept playing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nothing happened.
It was still 5-on-5.
Yeah.
True to form.
But yeah, so he's the reason that I started really following hockey, and then he got me into fantasy hockey, and that was when I was at my hockey zenith, And I've since fallen off a little bit since then because doing fantasy baseball, hockey, and football, it was too much for me. But yeah, so you're right, around that time period, a little bit before college, but okay. I really started following hockey in the 2000. Maybe 2001, around there is when I really started following it.
Well, I've had the pleasure of seeing my New Jersey Devils win 3 Stanley Cups in 8 seasons. So I've gotten to see my team hoist the Stanley Cup 3 times, and I'm hoping that your team will hoist the Stanley Cup for the first time that you've seen them.
Yes,
hoist the Stanley Cup.
Yes, that I've seen.
The last time that you've seen, because the last time they hoisted the Stanley Cup was in 1990, and that was with the. Well, it's funny. Friend of the show, Esa Tikkanen, was on that team. All right, we're gonna keep rolling along with this week in sports ball, and we're gonna talk about a coaching job that was a vacancy that was filled this week. JJ Redick basketball analyst extraordinaire, podcaster extraordinaire. He is now the head coach of somebody's Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
We got to talk about this. Is this just a count? Is this just kind of knowing somebody that you just know somebody and say, all right, I'll get my foot in the door? Or is this just the Lakers saying, yeah, we'll take anybody off the street? Because I know, like, to be fair, the Yankees kind of did this with Aaron Boone. They take an analyst out of the booth and they make a manager. He's had some success. But now the same thing's happening in basketball with JJ Redick scoring a job with the Lakers. And I have an appeal to make to the Albany Academy high school varsity hockey team in just a moment. But what are your thoughts on this, Dustin? Is it just a case of just being somewhere in the right place at the right time, knowing somebody, or is this warranted?
See, I'm of two minds about this, because the first instinct, and a lot of people are going to say this, and then some people will brand them as haters, and I don't think it is. You have to factor it in.
Hate.
That wherever LeBron has gone, he's had an impact on the decisions that team makes. I can't say that he's the GM. I can't, I'm not going to throw all that stuff out there, but there is no denying, whether you feel one way about LeBron or you feel another way about him, he has had an undeniable impact on the decisions and the directions that most of his teams have decided to take. And there is no denying he has a lot of input. And he has a relationship with JJ Redick from the podcast. He knows JJ very well. So I think you cannot deny that no doubt influenced JJ getting this job. Now, can't speak to his coaching ability, because this is the first time, to my knowledge, like, he doesn't have any prior coaching ability to this. The only other similar besides Aaron Boone, Pat Riley. Pat Riley was pulled out of the commentary position for the Lakers, out of the color position, and into coaching. And we've seen how that has turned out. Pat Riley, one of the great basketball minds, but he did have some coaching experience prior to that, if I remember, but it was not at the NBA level. But I guess we'll have to wait and see, because the aforementioned Eddie Olczyk, it's tying into 10 good minutes here. He's another. Oh yeah, he was another. He was another commentator pulled out of the booth, and Barry Melrose a few years ago with the Kings, if I remember correctly, the Los Angeles Kings. I think they had Barry Melrose come out of the booth. But I think the fact that he has a pre-existing relationship with LeBron helped, and also the Lakers, as they are right now, they're not going to get some of the bigger ticket names. They didn't get Dan Hurley because that's who they wanted. That was their first chance. And
good on Dan Hurley for staying at UConn, because that would have been I think that would have been a disaster for the
and that's my other quick point before I let you jump in here. I feel like JJ Redick is kind of a dead man walking, because unless he does an amazing thing and takes and this is no commentary on JJ Redick. Like we said, we don't really know how he'll be as a coach. Maybe he's going to be amazing, but I feel like unless he goes incredibly far with the Lakers next year, he's a placeholder coach. He's a placeholder coach until they can find somebody that they really want, or until the Lakers move on from LeBron. Those are my thoughts.
I agree with you in the fact that JJ Redick is kind of a holdover coach. And here's the reason. Here's the biggest reason why. You're not guaranteed, excuse me, there's no guarantees LeBron James will be with the Lakers at the beginning of this season, because he's got an opt-out for his contract. And he has said in up until recently that he wants to play with Bronny. He wants to play with Bronny. Bronny's entered the draft. He's also entered the transfer portal in the NCAA. Lord knows where he'll go if he decides not to stay at USC, because they're going to the Big Ten next year. But yeah, there's no guarantee that LeBron will stay as a Laker. He could be a Bull. He could be and Dustin, forgive me for saying this. He might be a Maverick.
Oh, I hope not. I really hope not.
Yeah, and right now the projection is that Bronny James will either likely be a late round pick, very late in the draft pick, or he'll be an undrafted free agent. But if I'm a team, would I really want to take a waiver on a kid who only averaged 6 points per game at USC as a freshman? The only reason why he's entering, part of the reason why he's entering is because who his dad is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, JJ Redick, and yeah, good luck to you. If you lose LeBron, good luck to you. I don't know what kind of team the Lakers will be when JJ Redick becomes a head coach. Maybe it'll become a free shooting team. Maybe they'll have something like the Warriors, although I doubt it. They don't have the talent around them like the Warriors do to maintain that kind of success. And yes, you are correct. I did some real-time research. Pat Riley was a broadcaster in 1977 for the Lakers, but was pulled into becoming an assistant coach for Paul Westhead after Jack McKinney
had that bike accident.
Team's head coach had a near fatal bicycle accident. So then he became the head coach in the 1982 season, as was documented in Winning Time about the story of the Los Angeles Lakers.
I still have to watch season 2. That show is fantastic.
I have only seen glimpses of it. I know I have share an HBO Max account with my brother, so I'll have to start watching that. I know who was it? Adrian
Brody.
Adrian Brody plays Pat Riley, got the slick back hair. So the slick back hair. But I'll have to look at that. But good luck to you, JJ Redick. And this kind of got me thinking. All right, JJ Redick in the broadcast booth, he's a podcaster. And I was just looking at jobs the other day on Indeed, just for the heck of it. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to come across this opening at Albany Academy for a varsity head coach. And I thought to myself, if JJ Redick can get a job, can score himself a head coaching gig with one of the best known sports franchises in all of professional sports, why can't I, a podcaster in the Albany, New York area, score a job as a varsity head coach at a local high school?
I think you can do it. You can do it.
And here's the only qualifications that they require.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they do require head coach experience at the high school or college level, hockey program builder. Look, I'm a former hockey chaplain. I know hockey players.
Yeah.
But here are the only qualifications. All right. Education, bachelor's degree. I've got that. First aid and CPR. They will train. I've had CPR and first aid training before. Successful background check. I have no criminal history, as far as I know. And concussion management will train. Characteristics: leader of others. As a chaplain, I did that. Developer of young men. As a chaplain, I did that. Passionate about hockey. I am passionate about hockey. I've never played, but I know the game. So, Albany Academy High School. Let's have a chat. And it's a part-time gig, so it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, you've got flexible hours.
I got flexible hours, and they pay $2,800 for the season. So that's an extra $2,800 in my pocket.
Yeah, nothing to sneeze at.
Nothing to sneeze at. And I consider myself somebody who could be a motivator. I got the gift of encouragement.
Yeah,
why not?
Yeah, I think you should do it. I think you should do it. I'm serious too, because you check all the boxes except for one. You don't have the coaching experience, but guess what? This gets you. Coaching experience.
Exactly. So, I do have an in, because I do know another my former mission partner, my buddy Scott. He is the head coach of the Capital District Jets. He coaches, I think, five different high schoolers. I can't remember which high schools he coaches. So Capital District. Let me just look it up real quick. I think it's South Colony, Shaker, Tamarack, and a couple other high schools. I'm trying to remember, but he can vouch for me.
Oh yeah, No, I mean, I'm serious. Let's start a campaign. Everybody watching and all the cred heads, anybody in our Discord, let's start tweeting at the Albany Academies, McCarthy for head coach. Let's do it. We'll come up with a creative hashtag. Let's get this. Let's at least get this man an interview and see if he can blow him away in the interview, because I have confidence here.
Yeah, so I'm trying to look this up. Yep, okay. So Shaker, Colony, Tamarack, Averill Park, and Columbia. Those are the 5 high schools that represent the Capital District Jets, coached by my buddy Scott Rock. I'll have to get him on. We'll have to get him on a episode. We'll do 10 good minutes with him sometime.
Yeah,
He's a great guy.
Good.
He's a great dude, and he's a good friend. I haven't talked to him in a while, but they almost won Section 2 a couple of years not this past season, but last season. So, he's a successful dude. So yeah, Albany Academy. Let's talk. Before we go to our commercial break, we got to talk about the Grimace bounce.
Oh man,
the New York Mets back on 10 days ago on June 12th had Grimace, the greatest of all McDonald's characters.
Yes,
because to heck with that clown. And Mayor McCheese, rest in peace. Hamburglar's still in jail. I don't know what happened with the professor. I think he's on an island somewhere.
And Birdie's out there. She's doing her thing.
Birdie has flown the coop. But Grimace, the greatest of all McDonald's characters, throughout the first pitch at the New York Mets game, the Mets went on a 7-game winning streak. And they've won 8 of their last 9. And currently in a very terrible National League, I think they're only a handful of games out of the wild card.
I know
they're not going to win the East. That's the Phillies to lose.
Yeah,
but
also the Braves are in that division, who offensively are starting to turn it around.
They're 1 game back of the wild card. The Mets, the New York Mets, with a 36-38 record, are 1 game back of the wild card. It's the Grimace bounce. It's got to be the Grimace bounce.
Well, that's the thing. And do you know why this happened, Ryan? It's because McDonald's did not acknowledge his birthday this year.
They did not.
So good on the Mets for going out and saying, hey, Grimace, for your birthday, you get to throw out the first pitch. Now, I don't know how close it was to Grimace's birthday. I just know he's a fellow Gemini like me. But Grimace went out there like the tribal chief and was like, acknowledge me. He threw a strike, and now the Mets are on fire. Correlation? I think so.
Grimace, man. Grimace.
And he may have inspired, I believe it was Luis Severino who pitched after Grimace threw out the first pitch, and he had a great start.
I got the clip of Grimace throwing out the first pitch. So I'll hit that clip right now. Courtesy of SNY Mets. Grimace threw out the first pitch. There he is, getting ready from the stretch. Here he goes. Not terrible.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
I mean,
the hat's a little snug.
The hat's just a skosh snug. They should got one of those big hats for him.
Yeah.
But good on Grimace, and good on the Mets too. I mean, I'm kind of shocked because the Mets started out pretty well, then they went on a downward spiral. Mets gonna Mets, doing their thing.
Yeah,
Frank the Tank on Twitter going crazy.
We called them the New York Mess, I think.
Yes, we. I think it was either us or Snowman who called them the New York.
Yeah,
Mess.
yeah.
No. He calls the Brooklyn Nets the Brooklyn Mess.
Oh.
Go back to New Jersey, Brooklyn Nets. Go back to New Jersey. But can the Mets continue this streak? Can it continue this trend?
I don't know. But with Grimace behind him, anything is possible. I mean, candidly, I don't have much faith, but as Kevin Wilson points out in the comments, thanks for watching, Mr. Wilson. Only 4 teams in the NL have a winning record, so anything can happen.
Yeah, the National League is disgusting this year. It's terrible. But hey, look, you go on a heater. Another hockey term. There you go, Albany Academy. I know another hockey term.
Yeah.
Going on a heater. The Mets going on a little bit of a heater. They're getting within one game of the wild card.
Yeah.
If the team gets hot, at the right time, they could cross that threshold, go above the Mendoza line in terms of wins, in terms of their record and their 500 record, and kind of keep the momentum going. So
Yeah.
I don't think they won't win the National League East. That's for sure. Again, I mentioned that
No.
Phillies are too far ahead.
Yeah.
Although we've seen stranger things happen. The Anaheim Angels had a very what was considered at the time an insurmountable lead in 1995, and Seattle came back and won the division in the last game, knocked them out of the playoffs. But I believe in Grimace. I'm a believer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, candidly, I don't think the Mets have the pitching to hold up. They do have some offense, and if hitters get hot, it can go. I mean, Lindor. Say what you want about Francisco Lindor, he's talented. He's a little bit in decline, but they have some bats in that lineup, which is why it was surprising that they started out so terribly. But Luis Severino, he's kind of turned it around. He pitches different now. He is not the Luis Severino of the Yankees fame, and he pitches a little bit. He's too much of a fly ball pitcher for my taste. I want pitchers who can force a lot of ground balls. Severino's not doing that at this stage in his career, but he's pitching well. The Mets bullpen, I don't follow them religiously because I am a Yankees fan. I don't have a lot of love lost for the Mets. Or a lot of love for the Mets, excuse me. But to my knowledge, their bullpen has kind of shored up, which has helped with this turnaround here. But we all know it's really attributed to Grimace.
Grimace. Believe. All right, before we go to commercial break, we got some comments in the comment section we got to address. Our brother Josiah said, good morning, Ryan and Dustin.
Good morning, sir.
Appreciate you joining us. He does ask us, for both of you, who's your favorite baseball player of all time?
Oh man, this is tough because I feel like my reaction. I mean, he's my favorite Yankee, Donnie Baseball. Spoiler: you might just find him on a list we're gonna do shortly here.
Ooh.
But I feel like that's too short-sighted, because we both talked about with the passing of Willie Mays that we were both beside ourselves that he was left off our list of greatest athletes. But it's such a wide berth, but I don't know. I really do have an affinity for Donnie, and I'll tell you who's coming up the ranks as I get older. The fact that I got to watch Ken Griffey Jr. play, I am very happy about that.
There you go. For me, as an all-time favorite, Yogi Berra.
Oh yeah.
And his museum's in New Jersey. It's not that far of a drive, so maybe.
Oh, little road trip. NCR road trip, huh?
Well, since we're not going to the Fantasy Football Expo, we could do a no credentials required trip to the Yogi Berra Museum in New Jersey.
Yeah, I would be down to check that out for sure.
Yeah. So all-time guy, Yogi Berra, but favorite modern player, Mariano Rivera.
Oh yeah, Mo's a great pick.
And I got to see him get inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2019. That was an awesome trip. It was a long day, but it was an awesome trip. I gotta tell this story. So I was an intern. I thought this show was going to go a little bit about an hour, but we might go over. Well, I was an intern at the local 4-letter network affiliate, and the radio show that I was interning for, one of the radio shows I was interning for Brian Mariano, Closing Time on Saturday mornings. I was also the intern producer for Sit and Sports Side Sunday with my buddies Eric Hanneman and Mike James. And Mike was coming back after a couple months in the hospital. He had a nasty slip and fall, had to have his leg amputated.
Oh, geez.
And he wasn't in a good way. He wasn't very well at the time, but he was coming back. So I started with the first Sunday he came back was my first Sunday with them, and they had managed to score media passes for the induction ceremony at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. So it's about a 13-hour day as a drive there, do a show there, attend, go watch the ceremonies. I took pictures.
Yeah.
Go back. I mean, it took forever to get to our bus and go back. But we're going to McDonald's on the way back, and Mike he's got no legs, so his left leg is gone. So lower leg is gone. So so at the knee, he's got no leg. So we're going through the drive-through, and I said, and he got his order in. We go to the window to pay, and I said, hey, this guy's so hungry he'd shoot his own leg off. That's how hungry he is. And the lady at the booth, he just starts dying. And Mike's like, what are you doing? Like, dude, we're friends. I got a joke with you. So it was a fun moment. And that was a fun moment. It was a great moment. It was a great time. It was a long day. It was a hot day.
Yeah.
But to see one of my favorite Yankees get inducted to the Hall of Fame was a great day, and I'll never forget it. Continuing in the comments, Brother Josiah says, that's for playing for a job. You have another chaplain here who thinks you rock. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Kevin says, go get that job. And Brother Josiah says, come on, hire this guy. Kevin
Let's start
Wilson,
the campaign.
That's right. Let's start the campaign. Kevin Wilson, again from Belly Up Fantasy Sports, he says, favorite player of all time, Steve Garvey. Got great hair.
Yeah, yeah.
He was in that commercial.
And you know,
the hair
we gotta
commercial.
have. I'm saying it because we never got to do it when he was a guest on the show for one of the Saturday Brunch episodes. We got to discuss another Wilson signing by the Steelers, Kevin. I know you wanted to get after that when we were on the show, so let's do it. Let's figure out whether it's a 10 good minutes or something, but we'll make it happen.
We'll get you on. We'll get him on. I'm sure he's always got welcome. He's got carte blanche to come on.
Yeah.
And Brother Josiah saying, yeah, go Yogi. Yeah, absolutely. Yogi Berra, my favorite all-time Yankee, and again, Mario Rivera, my favorite modern Yankee. So, all right, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got another installment of The List. Stay tuned for more No Credentials Required. This episode of No Credentials Required is brought to you by Invader Coffee. For the coffee lover who wants good, quality coffee with no bullshit and no filler, Invader Coffee is an ultra-premium, veteran-owned coffee company proudly delivering only the best coffee your hard-earned money can buy. They aim to only serve the highest quality, organic, air-roasted coffee beans sourced from free trade farms all over the world. They keep things simple. The best coffee at an affordable price in order to provide you with the value you deserve for your morning boost. 100% fair trade, 100% organic coffee beans, 100% air roasted, 100% money back guarantee. Visit invadercoffee.com, enter promo code BELLYUP at checkout, and receive 15% off your order. That's right, folks. The only coffee that goes in this mug is Invader Coffee. As that handsome bearded man in the commercial said, it's 100% fair, 100% air roasted, takes out all that acidity, all that bitterness that you think you get in your morning coffee from your local mermaid. I'll just put it that way. It's not over roasted. It's not overpriced. It's roasted just right. And yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more premium for this kind of coffee, but it's the best coffee it's probably the best coffee I've ever had. Yeah, hands down. I'll say it. It's not because they're an affiliate sponsor, but it's look, every sponsor we have, we try to use their services first.
Mm-hmm.
Test them. We test them. We want to make sure that the product is good enough to have the No Credentials Required seal of approval.
Glad to have him back.
Glad to have Puppers back. I'm sure he's excited for the Oilers. But this is a great company. It's veteran. Look, if you love your country, if you love your fellow veterans, go to Invader Coffee. Our description is going to be in the link. It's going to be in the link below. It's for our affiliate link. You also save 15% off your order with promo code BELLYUP at checkout. And yeah, you might pay a little bit more for shipping, but guess what? Your coffee comes within a matter of days, freshly roasted. If you're a whole bean guy, freshly ground. If you're a ground coffee person, I prefer fresh bean. I prefer the whole bean because I grind the beans myself.
Yes.
Myself, it's a little fresher, but that's okay. You do you. They also got K cups if you guys want something quick on the run. You got the K cups.
Yeah.
I know, Dustin, you get the K cups for at work when you need a little pick me up in the afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah, because at my job they have a coffee deal with a local company here that distributes coffee, and they must have a deal with, I'll keep the company nameless, but it rhymes with Lean Mountain. And so every once in a while, when that's not cutting it, I get the K cups of the OG blend off of Invader, and I am much happier. And I echo Ryan's sentiments. I'm not as much of a coffee connoisseur that Ryan is. I've gotten into coffee in recent years, but this is better. Like, I can't get coffee from Dunkin' Donuts or any place like that. After drinking Invader, I've become a little bit of a coffee snob. There are other companies that I think do a good job on coffee, but Invader, I'm always thrilled when I have their coffee. I haven't met a blend that I haven't liked yet. And I've talked ad nauseum before about how flavors, they do it right. It doesn't overwhelm the coffee. It doesn't, the coffee still comes through. It just very happy. And as I say this, I got to use our promo code because I got a refill. And I might be getting a bag of coffee from the Backstop Mendoza Line Challenge. We don't know yet. We don't know.
I don't know yet.
But I might be getting a bag.
We have to do an update on Tuesday about that. So
Yeah.
get yourself some Invader coffee. Again, it gets the no credentials required seal of approval. Good old Puppers. Showing up twice in an episode. Love that guy.
He's a star.
He's a star, folks. He's a star. Works for fish. All right, folks. We're going to close out the show with another installment of The List.
You just made the list! Oh my gosh.
Oh, by the way, in the comments, Kevin Wilson said, let's get it done.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So next week we're going to have, you know what? Next Saturday, next Saturday we'll do a show. We'll have Mr. Wilson on.
All right.
So this installment of The List, 5 former athletes we'd like to have a beer with. So Dustin, I'll have you lead off. I had so much time to think about this, and by so much time I mean like an hour before the show.
Yeah, I was in the same boat because I have one pick in the I had one pick in the barrel that I knew, and it was the impetus for me coming up with this topic. But other than that, I have nobody. So as with usual, this list is going to be off the cuff because I did think about a few.
Here.
And it's not based on their athletic ability. It's not based on whether I got the chance to see them play. It's not based on any of that. It's just, who do I think would be cool to sit down and have a beer with? And I will lead off with my number 5, Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald of the Arizona Cardinals fame. Fantastic wide receiver. I always had an affinity for Larry Fitzgerald when he came out of college, and he and Anquan Bolden were on those Cardinal teams that weren't so great, but they were getting there. I have familiarity with the Arizona Cardinals, being that they are in the Seahawks division. But what really put it over the top is go watch Larry Fitzgerald's Football Life. That's right. It's another plug for Football Life. I seem to plug a Football Life every year on this show. I don't know what happens, but that's where we are. But he's just a very interesting man, well-traveled man, seen a lot of the world, and he's naturally curious, likes to learn about a lot of things. And I like to talk to people that are smarter than me. And that's one of the reasons that opens it up to a lot of people, by the way. But that's one of the reasons I would love to sit down, have a beer with Larry Fitzgerald, and ask him about his NFL playing time. But I also have a feeling we would get into many other things because that's the type of person he seems to be.
All right. For my number 5, Wade Boggs.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
And I know
he'll drink you under the table.
Well, I was going to get to that. There's that urban legend of Wade Boggs drinking over 100 beers and eating 8 fried chickens on a cross-country flight from Boston to Seattle. And he wound up going with, I think it was 3 for 5 or 4 for 5 in the next day, the next game. And that urban legend was covered in one of my favorite episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The gang tries the Boggs challenge, and they're going on the cross-country flight from Philadelphia. And it went up in Los Angeles for some reason. But they literally packed beers in suitcases, and for every beer they have it marked off by, I'm trying to remember who was the official referee, but I can't remember. I gotta watch the episode again.
Yeah,
But I would have a beer with him just to find out if that legend is true.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I knew about the beer part, but you almost got a spit take from me on the 8 fried chickens. I didn't know about that. Oh man.
But yeah, I want to find out. I want to know if this is true. And Wade Boggs, World Series champion with the New York Yankees.
Yes. Controversially.
Made his way from Boston, longtime Boston Red Sox, went to the Yankees in 1996, won a World Series with the Yankees in 96, and also one of only a handful of players to get his 3,000th hit with a home run. That was when he was a member of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. So I'd love to talk about him about that moment too. But this would be a great moment in show history to have a beer with a former professional athlete, provided they still drink.
Yeah.
Some guys prefer whiskey. Some guys are sober. That's cool too. There's non-alcoholic beers we can have a beer with. But yeah, Wade Boggs is my number 5. Right. I'll lead off with number 4. And this is going to be kind of a ways. It's not in a niche sport. But I would like to have a beer with Coach of the Albany Firewolves, Glenn Clark. And the reason why I say that is because in their first year of existence in Albany, they're actually one of the 3 iterations of the team. They were originally the Philadelphia Wings. They got relocated to Connecticut, became the New England Black Wolves, and they moved to Albany, became the Albany Firewolves. But in the inaugural season, they had a drink release called the Wolf Bite, and it's a cocktail, it's a vodka cocktail with, I think, pomegranate and a couple other flavors in there. And I tried it, and it's actually really good. But I would always ask after every win, "Hey, Coach, you're gonna have a Wolf Bite after this?" He goes, "Oh yeah, gonna have a great one. It's great." And this season, we talk about it would be funny. He'd be leaving the press room. I would always ask, "What you drinking tonight?" And after the first playoff game against Halifax, he said, "I'm gonna need a bottle of wine after that one." I recommended 19 Crimes by Snoop Dogg as a joke. But then when the Firewolves won their series against San Diego, he said, "I'm gonna have some Tullamore." He says, "I'm gonna have a." So he's leaving the press room. "What are you gonna have a drink? What are you gonna have to drink tonight?" He goes, "I'm gonna have some Tullamore Dew." Like, ooh,
all right,
some whiskey. I kind of said
Irish whiskey there.
Like, "You're gonna have some wine tonight?" He goes, "No, I'm gonna have some Tullamore Dew." I'm like, "That's my dude. That's my dude right there." Again, unfortunately, Albany Firewolves fell short in the final, but it was a great run, great season this year. But yeah, that's one guy I would like to have a beer with, and maybe I can talk to Steven. We can make this happen. Like, before the season, we'll just go to a random brewery in Albany, and we'll just, like, the 3 of us will just sit down, have a beer, and talk some lacrosse and the season coming up, and also maybe just do some random questions. That'll be kind of fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
All right, Dustin, you're number 4.
Well, my number 4, I'm going with, I like it. You put a bit more of a local spin on it and something that could actually happen, but I'm going all-stars. And he's come up on other lists in this show, so I'm finding out that I really have an affinity for this man, I guess. Shaq. I'm having a beer with Shaq for multitude of reasons, okay? Shaq played kind of multiple eras in the NBA. He played against MJ. He played against Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yep.
Played against and for a short period, forgettable period, with LeBron. Played with Kobe. played with Dwayne Wade. Lots of things that you could ask him about the game of basketball and the difference between the eras, because he kind of spanned two of them. And I would ask him a lot of questions about his time with the Orlando Magic, some of which he addresses in the documentary, the 30 for 30, that this Magic moment's great. Go watch it. But Shaq is also an incredibly smart businessman. Shaq knows how to make investments. Shaq knows how to market his brands. I would ask him where he learned all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's clearly an incredible. He likes to play the role of a aloof, funny person, but Shaq is very smart. He's very dialed in. And one of the things that he did when other players' NBA shoes were outlandishly expensive, Shaq put his shoes at Kmart and he charged well below market price for them at the time. So that's another thing that I would want to ask him about. And about breaking backboards and just what it's like to be Shaq. I find him immensely interesting. And should the NBA be done with TNT, I hope whoever gets the NBA next, if it's not TNT, finds a way to get Shaq as an analyst, because he's been a great addition to that crew. And I just think he's very smart. And again, I like to talk to people that are smarter than me.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah, I agree. Shaq has that business acumen. I think he's either part owner or he owns a bunch of Papa John's stores, and that's why you see him as a brand ambassador on their commercials instead of Papa John himself. For reasons we know why. But yeah, Shaq's I believe he's got a PhD from Louisiana, from LSU.
I think, because I think he finished up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. He said he would fit. He declared early as a junior in the NBA draft back in 1992, and he said, and he promised his parents, I'm gonna finish my degree. He finished his bachelor's degree, then he got his master's, and he's got a PhD. So he made his promise. He fulfilled that promise, and then some. So good. Definitely Shaq is one of those guys to have a beer with, for sure. All right, Dustin, number 3 for you.
All right. Number 3 for me, we're gonna go back to the diamond. And again, I have an affinity for this man. I've talked about it. He's my favorite Yankee. I want to sit down with Don Mattingly and have a beer. I want to talk to him. He's been a manager. I almost picked Joe Torre for this spot. I almost picked Joe Torre because I feel like Joe Torre, also great baseball mind. I loved him as a manager of the New York Yankees. I even started tacitly rooting for the Dodgers when Joe Torre was a manager. But Don Mattingly makes the spot just because I want to talk to him about what he thinks he could have done if his back didn't derail his career somewhat towards the end there. I want to talk about that 95 season when everybody was trying to do it for Don. It became the rallying cry. I want to talk about, he's another one who has kind of played on a different era of the Yankees. He played with, because I think I'm trying to remember when he was drafted by the Yankees, but he's another one. Yeah, he's another one that kind of spanned, because the Yankees were not a great team for most of his tenure with the team, if not all of it, almost. So I want to talk to him about that and what it was like to persevere through that. And also, he just seems like he'd be a cool guy to have a beer with. I don't know as much about him, but I just want, if I had the opportunity to sit down with my favorite Yankee and have a beer, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, so I double checked. It was drafted in 1979.
Okay,
he made his debut with the Yankees in 1982.
Okay,
real time research, folks.
Oh yeah, it's a trademark.
Trademark of the program. For me, number three, I think it would have to be Ken Danico of the New Jersey Devils. He's Mr. Devil. He played his entire career, was drafted by the New Jersey Devils, played his entire career with the New Jersey Devils up until his retirement in 2004, I believe he retired. He scored a goal in 2 of the 3 times that the New Jersey Devils were in the Stanley Cup Final. Then they won those titles. I would love to get together with him, talk about his early career, the struggles that the Devils had early, then the sustained success from the 1988 playoff run. They went to the Prince of Wales final and played Boston, forced 7 games out of Boston. I would have loved to get his reaction in regards to Jim Schoenfeld calling Don Koharski a fat pig and tell him to have another donut. And just to talk about the career that he's had, especially the 94 loss to the Rangers in the Eastern Conference Final catapulted the Devils to the Cup in 95. The loss in 2001, trying to repeat, and the disappointment from that. Yeah, so he's an interesting guy. He's spent most of his life, I'd probably say more than half of his life, in New Jersey. He's originally from Canada. I believe he's from Manitoba, I want to say, or Saskatchewan, one of those provinces, and then coming to New Jersey, playing his entire career in New Jersey. Because that's one of the things too, is that, and this was mentioned on the Rod Peterson show this week, is that you don't see. He had a guest on who has a book with he co-wrote a book with his son. And he talks about the 8 most important trades in NHL history. And obviously one of those trades was the Gretzky trade in August 1988. I remember that day too. I remember that day when that happened. I'm sitting at my my dining room table, watching the news, and that news came about and how huge that was. And that's when I started getting into hockey.
Yeah. Okay.
But he mentioned he wrote a book about 8 trades in the NHL that were super important. And I made a comment of, you don't see careers on the back of on the back of sports cards anymore of guys who spent their entire career with one team. Because it's only a handful you see now. Steve Yzerman with the Red Wings, Ken Denico with the New Jersey Devils, and Maurice Richard, all those guys back in the day. You don't see that anymore. It's part of it is the era we live in.
Yes.
Free agency is huge. Also, trades come about too.
Yeah.
You see, Wayne Gretzky is an example of that. Patrick Waugh, another example of that. Those were 2 huge trades that kind of impacted teams from here on out. But yeah, Ken Denico, lifelong New Jersey Mr. Devil, as they call him. I would like to have a beer with him and just talk about his career, talk about his playing days with New Jersey, all the things that he had to go, all the adversity that he had to go through with those teams before they got their sustained success from 1988 onward through his retirement in 2000 in the early 2000s. Number two is going to be, and again, this is off the cuff. It's totally off the cuff because I didn't get none of us really got a chance to really think about it.
Yeah, but this makes it organic, right?
But this does make it organic. Yes, that's for sure. Number 2. Actually, number 2, Patrick Waugh. Speaking of goalies,
there you go.
Patrick Waugh, the current head coach of the New York Islanders. Why he got traded? I would love to hear his stories about his early playing days with the Montreal Canadiens. What the pressure is like for a Quebec-born player to play for the Montreal Canadiens. What that kind of pressure that brings. What brought about the trade to Colorado? His days in Colorado, and then transitioning over to coaching, having all that success in juniors with the Quebec Rempart, and I wouldn't bring up the current coaching, but I would love to, like you mentioned with Shaq. I wouldn't say, I don't know if Patrick Waugh has business acumen, but he has coaching acumen. He has player acumen. He knows how to win. He's a winner. And I would love to go to that mindset of, all right, what does it take to win? What does it take for a goalie to have that sustained success? He's got 4 Stanley Cups to his name, 2 with the Canadiens, 2 with the Avalanche. Unfortunately, one of them against my New Jersey Devils in 2001. But That's here.
You've moved past that.
I've moved past that. I've healed. I've healed internally. But no, but I would like to get into that kind of mindset of what it takes to win at a high level for that long of a time. Because until Martin Brodeur broke his record, he was the winningest goalie in NHL history. So that's my number 2 on my list. So who's number 2 on your list?
All right, number 2. Again, this is all organic, and I know I'm going to miss a lot of athletes that I'd love to sit down and have a beer with, but it's intrinsically tied to the teams I like. My number 2 and my number 1. My number 2, we're going back to the basketball court. I'd love to sit down and have a beer with Dirk Nowitzki, because similar to Shaq, he played well into the current era. But he also was drafted, I believe, in 1998, and he played with Steve Nash, became very good. Steve Nash, Michael Finley, different era of the Mavs.
Yeah.
But the thing, there's 2 main reasons why I want to sit down with Dirk. One, he just seems like a cool guy. Like genuinely, when I've heard him in interviews, he just seems very nice, very kind of like down to earth. But I'd want to talk about his experience of coming from Germany to the NBA. What was the transition like? How was it to play in the NBA? How did he find his way? And also, to your point earlier about Mr. Devil, if we had a Mr. Mav, it's Dirk Nowitzki. Yeah, he's got that statue. He played his entire career with the Dallas Mavericks, and he did have opportunities to go. But he did not. He wanted to stay with the team that drafted him. He felt an incredible sense of, from what I've heard, he felt an incredible sense of loyalty to the Mavs, and specifically Mark Cuban. I think those two had a special bond there. But Dirk Nowitzki, and also he's going to pick good beers. I mean, come on, he's German. So I'm gonna enjoy those beers there. But with that, I eagerly await your number 1 answer.
Oh, no, I'm going to pass it along to you.
Oh, pass it along to me. All right, my number 1. Some of you might be able to have guessed this, but my number 1 is a Seahawk, but it might not be who you think it is. I'm sitting down, and I'm having a beer with Marshawn Lynch, old beast mode himself, for many reasons. One, Marshawn Lynch, another person who I know is smarter than me. Marshawn Lynch is an incredibly smart businessman as well. Look what he's done in his post-career with his Beast Mode clothing line. Marshawn Lynch is an NFL player that never used his NFL salary to live. Marshawn Lynch lives off of endorsements. He has not touched his NFL salary. His NFL salary is just in the bank, or probably the stock market, getting bigger. Marshawn is a smart man, and they also, each NFL team has like a representative who kind of takes the rookies under their wing and kind of teaches them about money and investments, so like bit of a player mentor person. Marshawn Lynch was that person for the Seattle Seahawks. Now I know, and also I think he's funny. Funny. I'd love to sit down. And I also, early in his career, especially in Buffalo, Marshawn made some mistakes. And I'd like to sit down and talk to him about those and what it was like and what he learned and what it was like to overcome that. And also, he's a from what I've heard, he's a bit of a charitable guy. Loves Oakland, loves his old neighborhood, goes home. And, there's that famous clip of him. If you're a Seahawks fan, you know it. There's a famous clip of him on the sideline. Richard Sherman invites him to his house for Christmas. They're mic'd up. And Marshawn says, I gotta get through Thanksgiving first. And he's like, oh, what are you doing? And he says, I'm going back to my old neighborhood. I'm going to be handing out turkeys like Nino Brown, baby. Like he's like, I gotta support my community. And Richard's like, can I come? And he said, will you? And they said, okay, and they set it up. And I'd love to know if they actually handed out those turkeys, but knowing Marshawn, I'm going to say he definitely did. So that's my number 1. I will say I'm going to cheat right now. A bunch of athletes I thought of that I would have loved to put on this list. Ric Flair, although I would probably die because Ric Flair is going to drink me under the table. I would love to hear his stories, everything. Just talk to him. Ryan Smith, another long-term Edmonton Oiler. I want to talk to him about when he got traded to the Islanders because you never thought he was going to leave the Oilers. He just seemed like a down-to-earth, nice guy. His basement was painted in Oilers colors, okay? He loved the Oilers and probably still loves the Edmonton Oilers. But he was traded to the Islanders and then later played for the Avs because as you talked about, it's getting increasingly hard for a player to stay with a team over one era. Ryan Smith was another I thought of, but he didn't make the list in the moment. With that, drum roll, who is your number one?
My number one may surprise you. Because I thought about this, I cheated a little bit myself because I would have said John Daly, but he's still active on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
He's still active. I would have said Rex Ryan, but he's a coach, so I don't know if he played in the NFL at all. I have to look that up.
You could wear sandals that day; he'd be impressed.
No, my toes are gross.
I'm sorry, I had to do it.
My feet are gross. But the number one former athlete I'd like to have a beer with, who also turned to coaching, Phil Jackson. Because you kind of got when you said Shaq, you get the gears turning. You got my gears turning.
Yeah.
Phil Jackson, former New York Knick, former Albany Patroons head coach.
Yeah. Shout
out Albany.
Another local plug there.
And I would have loved. I'd like to have him talk about his early life because it's mentioned in the Last Dance about he grew up in South Dakota with like basically missionary parents and his connection to the native community there, and how it kind of it kind of grounded him, and his get to his days with the Knicks, that 1973 team that won
Dave DeBusschere and all those
Dave DeBusschere, Clyde Frazier, all those guys.
Willis Reed.
I'd love to talk about his days with them. His early coaching career with the Patroons, going to Puerto Rico, having to basically avoid being shot after basketball games because of the rivalries the teams had there. His days with the Bulls, becoming an assistant coach, how he turned that triangle offense into one of the greatest schemes in sports, how he won and winning all those titles, the 6 championships with the Bulls. I think the 3 or 4 championships he had with the Lakers, having dynamic Hall of Fame athletes, coaching them, coaching Jordan, coaching Pippen, Rodman, the different personalities, Shaq, Kobe, rest in peace, Kobe, Meta World Peace, aka Ron Artest.
Yeah.
Having him on his team and him contributing to a title. He's a fascinating guy. He's a fascinating dude. And I'd love to just sit down with him, have a beer, have a chat. I don't care if it's 20 minutes or 2 hours. And the same with all the other athletes I mentioned. Yeah, 20 minutes, 2 hours, I don't care. Talk my ear off. We'll have to sit down, ask you questions, and just get to know the person behind the success that they've had. Because it would be so much fun to just to talk with athletes, get to their mindset, find out their mindset, and know the person the person, like what drove them, what drives them to success, and also sustain success. So that's my number one.
That's a great pick. I think we've got some good lists here. And if you're watching on the replay later or you're watching live, put some of your picks in the comments. We'd love to hear about it.
And I kind of wonder if you mentioned Marshawn, you said Marshawn Lynch was number one. I wonder if he would pick a fruit beer and put some Skittles. Yeah,
maybe he dropped some Skittles right in there. And that's part of it too. It's challenging myself because Marshawn is notoriously, he never talked to the media. We all know about the I'm just here so I won't get fined, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to see if I could get him talking in a comfortable setting. My feeling is that I probably could. I don't know though, because his playing days are done. He's much more, but he's probably still a private person. I don't know. I'm making a bunch of assumptions about Marchand, but it would be interesting. And I'd love to sit down with any of the athletes that we mentioned. I think we got some good picks going.
Yeah. All right. That's been this installment of The List.
You just made the list!
Oh my gosh. I would have also said Chris Jericho, but he's still wrestling and he doesn't drink anymore. So,
yeah.
but at least we would have like a water or a coffee together or something like that.
No more of a little bit of the bubbly.
No more, a little bit of the bubbly. It would have to be cider, like a sparkling cider or something.
Yeah.
Oh, before we get out of here, I want to say happy belated birthday to co-host Dustin. He celebrated his 29th birthday on Wednesday. So Oilers girl, if you're out there, make a guy. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, man.
That's a one-time deal which is it's a one-time deal. But no, I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, happy birthday, Dustin. Hope you had a great birthday. I hope you're celebrating this weekend. I don't know if you're doing anything. If you're having anything special happening this weekend, or you just you got nothing planned, or are you just gonna be quiet about it?
Yeah, I'm just laying low a little bit. Gonna get a haircut after the show. Big plans, and then my sister.
That's why you had the hat on.
Yeah, that's the real reason. No, my sister is coming over on Sunday. She's gonna help me with some stuff around the house as kind of a birthday present, but kept it low key this year. We don't really. We're both at the ages where if we want something, we kind of buy it or save up for it or whatever. So we decided let's start doing stuff together on birthdays. I went out Thursday, had a very nice dinner. And other than that, I kept it low key. Maybe one of these years I'll have another party again. But people surprised us last year, both you and I. We had a nice surprise party here at the house, and that was very nice. But I'm keeping it low key this time around.
Yeah, last year was a ruse. It was a ruse by our sisters. They conspired and
they got you too. They
got me too. Yeah.
They used you to surprise me, and get me out of the house. But then they surprised you with it.
Happy birthday, Dustin and Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get out of here again. Happy birthday to Dustin. Leave a birthday comment in the comments saying give me a happy birthday wish, won't you? For his 29th birthday. But we want to get out of here. Before we do, we want to mention our socials: Twitter, Instagram, and the scarcely used TikTok. It's at NoCredsREQ, Facebook.com/NoCredsREQ, YouTube.com/@NoCredsREQ. Also, if you're watching on the replay on Rumble, we want to appreciate you there as well. On the podcast side, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, wherever you podcast. Rate and review. A 5-star rating would be very helpful. And if you can leave a review on a platform where you can leave a review, we might even read it on the air. This has been the Saturday Brunch edition of No Credentials Required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports or eat brunch. We are proudly presented by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. For Dustin Henry, I'm Ryan McCarthy. We'll be back on Tuesday reviewing another movie. We're reviewing The Iron Claw. So stick around. So come on by 8:05 Eastern Tuesday night. We review The Iron Claw and talk about, and hopefully by then, the Oilers will complete their comeback. They'll have even more to talk about. I'm pretty sure Dustin, hopefully if they win, we'll be buying some merch.
Oh man, yeah.
Got to use some of those Belmont winnings to go, and also you can probably buy some rings from Estetik.
Yeah.
Use those winnings. But in all seriousness, folks, we'll see you on Tuesday night, 8:05 Eastern. Stop on by for more sports talk. For more quality sports talk. So we'll see you then.
Good morning, everybody.